And we're live to discuss.
Yeah.
Well, how did that just happen out of random? Right, and now we're going to discuss. Review the other side of Haley. Little did you know, folks, that she's an extremely intelligent person that likes. What have we got here? I've lost it. That's it. The official visit. That's what we have. Have I got the right thing on? We're going to go through these.
I don't see anything.
You don't see anything yet. You know what?
Anything.
Have I actually shared it yet? I don't think I actually shared it. I think I just went to the. I think I may have been distracted by something. What do you think I was distracted by? Right. So here we are. I think something has popped up on the screen. Right, the official visit. Yeah. So we watched it's been a while since you've seen this. So what I'll do is I'll go through these and we might refresh your memory. Would that be okay? Is that the best way to go, Haley?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, here we go. So I'm going to go over to. I've got a lot of windows open, you see, so I've got to work out which one's which. That's it. The official. No, not that one. Here it is. Right, the official visit. So yeah, this is the intro card. This is. What did I put there? Yes, this actor is called John Savadance. He was in a couple of episodes of Blake 7. Why did I think I just did this to, like, yes, you can have some good lighting at this stage.
Okay.
Sometimes I just randomly. Yes, facial expressions as well. Now, this actor actually played King George in The Madness of King George. I don't know if you've seen that film. Right, so, and then we've got here.
Seems like
You're gone. It seems like what?
Snake. We will call him the Snake.
Oh, yes. And then Buranda sounds a little bit like Rwanda, probably a made-up country. What was this, Jim? And then yes, the plot of this is that the official visit from the leader of Buranda is due to visit the UK and in search of investment for oil rigs, for offshore oil rigs. And Jim thinks, well, if he makes the visit to Scotland, then and in Scotland, in certain areas of Scotland, they make oil rigs, then that would be very popular amongst the voters, and then they can hold some by-elections, which are sort of like they're like these off-year elections in the United States. And then, yes, it's a series so sophisticated that I can't sum it up very easily. Right, so and then what happens is, so he's due to meet the Queen, who is the head of state, not the head of government, but the head of state, the figurehead, in Scotland. And then they realise, and it's on the news, that there's been a coup in Buranda. And they're thinking, oh no, and then they're wondering, and they want the new person to come to Scotland. And this is the person coming, and then they find out that the person that's taken over in Buranda is an old classmate of Jim's originally called Charlie Untali. And he now converted to Islam and has an Islamic name. And there's Burandan Airways. And during that, they did the joke. Oh,
Joke.
we'll go through. Yes, here we go. The joke. So Humphrey said, there was one 747 that belonged to 9 different African airlines in 1 month. They called it the Mumbo Jumbo. Now, probably people out there are probably thinking, that's borderline racist. But not. The actual episode was talking about how clever this guy was because he was like the top of the class and he's able to manipulate a big loan out of Jim Hacker in the program, Charlie and Tarly. And then again, good facial expressions from Hawthorne, Nigel Hawthorne. Old school telly. But the thing is, the way a lot of televisions in the United States used to look like this in the 1990s. Just saying. Is that Charlie and Tarly? Yes, that's Charlie and Tarly because he recognises it. And this is where it says that's Charlie and Tarly. I went to the LSC. So that's not ESTJ in socionics, not logical sensory extrovert. That's the London School of Economics. That's where he recognises him. And then they go on the train. And this is when and then what happens is, because he's very clever, this Charlie and Tarly, might be a bit of an ENTP. What they did have this little bit where they said something like, when they asked what he's like, they said, Jim said, is the sort of fella who would follow you into a revolving door, follow behind you, but come out first. So maybe a bit of an ENTP. A competitive person, very smart. So when we're going to go over to this graphic again, actually this graphic, and so what he does, and there's Jim getting changed again. Good comedy expressions, and then he sees the speech. So what he does, Charlie and Tarly, the new leader of Miranda, is he gives out a preview of the speech. And in the preview of the speech, this is when they're talking about it. And it's like they're all concerned and they're all getting in here saying, what's going on here? Look at all this. Look at this speech. Where they talk about...
Okay, wait, Ben, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
A real life situation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Will you really have 6 men squeezing into a room this size?
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to how big the set is. I think you could probably get 6 in there.
Okay, but just if we put a wall right where the camera is and we keep all the men compressed like that, will they stay? Will they all willingly enter into a room of? Is like 6 slides past that where they're all scrunched in. Right there, yeah. Right where the camera is, we put a wall there.
So, but basically, there's more. Are you saying that there's more room than is shown?
Well, yeah, in order to fit the camera in and everybody, and
I see what
to
you're
make
saying.
them all.
Because, like, when you see here, it looks like you could fit more people in.
Right. It might just be the wide angle of the camera.
Yeah, because if you're looking at here, I mean, you're always noticing these technical things. You'd be a good director. So the point is,
for humor, like funny, they wanted to like scrunch everyone in there.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's when they meet him. Now the thing is, so what they do is in the speech he says things like, and he's addressing it to the Scottish people, saying that the Scottish people are oppressed by the English, and you too need to throw off. And of course, now you have this big Scottish independence movement, and so prophetic. And so there's always been the SNP, but it was a really Scottish nationalist party. It was very small in those days, but now it's the biggest party in Scotland. And so they're thinking, he can't give this speech. And so he's given. So they go to Charlie and Tarly, and it's basically, what do you want in order to reword this speech? And he's saying things like, "Oh, I believe in what I say, absolutely." And then, so what they do is what he wants, what Charlie and Tarly wants, this guy here, is he wants a loan from the British government for £50 million, interest free. And once he gets that loan to help develop the oil industry, and if he gets that loan, then he'll change the wording of his speech. And then that's the reaction of John Hawthorne as Sir Humphrey Appleby. And these are the people that started it. And then I will go to the little bits and we can talk about some of the issues. John, but he's probably the black guy, otherwise known as the president. It really irks me that in these days you can make a program and there's hardly any people involved, and yet these days they have like so many more people involved, and it doesn't actually look that much better. So like here, you have, these are the people that starred in it, and then you've got costume designer, makeup artist, title sequence, music, production assistant, produced by. I might have missed some out, but you know what I mean. There's fewer people involved in those days. So I will now end that, and then I'll go back to Hayley. Where am I? Where is she? You've not disappeared, have you? I'm trying to find. No, here you are. There you are. Right. I will go through some of the lines because there's another good joke in here as well. So when they were talking there, because he wanted the visit to go ahead, even when it was the new leader of Buranda. And so Humphrey is worried. Now, initially what I wrote on this piece of paper, within about the first minute or so, I wrote down on my piece of paper, you see that there, folks? I wrote down, the intelligence is lovely.
And right above that, no women seen in this.
Yes. That's right. No women in this episode. So, right, no women in this episode. And then for some reason, I wrote a line on from my big grandma, who's dearly departed now. I'd rather keep you a week than a fortnight.
I don't know how long a fortnight is.
14 days.
Oh, great.
I'd rather keep you a week than a fortnight. Right. Right, we've done the 747 joke. We talked about the LSE. No deep. Oh yes, and he also said about Charlie. No, you know when they asked him about his economics and about what he thought and about whether they thought that he was a communist or something in Buranda, because that was the type of government that took over. But then he said about him, no deep commitment, when he was talking about Charlie's character. And then when they're doing the same with Bernard, you know when they had the stuff with the paper train, he was like, how do I get through these papers? A lot of that is probably so true, where they don't actually do the paperwork and they just put it in from there to there.
Yeah.
And they let the bureaucrats do it. Yeah. And then he says something like, well done, Minister, better out than in. And then there's the bit at the beginning, the near silent mouthing of Irish. Very good performances. And then, here's a nice little joke they did. And then Jim saying, we're going to have... and earlier, when he read through the speech, he talked about that the Scottish people need to throw off the imperialist yoke. And then Jim Hacker says, we're going to have egg all over our faces. And so Humphrey says, not egg, Minister, just imperialist yoke. And then when he's there, when they're discussing this offer to like change the wording of the script in return for the loan, so Humphrey says, to the minister, blackmail. And then Charlie says, "Are you describing me or my proposal?" Right.
Proposal, naturally. No, not even your proposal. That was funny.
And what I saw, because I watched it, I watched your reaction carefully when we watched this together. And as we've talked before about the gap, and you experienced the gap when you were watching it, and I saw your reaction to when, because as Jim experienced the gap, you experienced the gap between expectation and result. So when he's looking at the speech, what he expects is far different from what he actually reads. So that's the gap between expectation and result. And just as he was like, that was like your reaction as well. And so, because the gap being the, I put here, saw HH experience the gap of surprising planned speech containing anti-British rhetoric. And then I wrote something here, interest rates at 10% in 1918. He wanted the interest-free loan. Oh yes, stuff about India I've written down here, about the colonialism. And this was the idea about why Charlie and Tali is very educated. There was a little bit of mixed messages when the British ruled India. There were mixed messages in terms of there were two approaches that sort of like got confused together. One approach was to turn Indians into what they called brown Englishmen by sending them to the best British universities, Oxford and Cambridge, and like totally assimilating them and like really educating them and like creating this huge middle class of very sophisticated, learned Indians. And then you've got that now in India. Now you've got this. It's the biggest middle class in the world is in India. And the education system is based on the British education system. And Gandhi was part of that. But the problem was there was this strain of thought that India should be ruled by these princes. So you had these two strands competing with each other where the Indian middle class was like, hang on a minute, you've got the British supporting all these princes. So you had a mixed approach. Whereas if they went totally for, we're going to have a meritocracy and we're going to have dominion status. So for instance, when Canada, so in the early in the 20th century, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand were known as dominions. That basically meant was they ruled their own domestic policy, and just foreign policy was just set by Britain. What we got here? Oh yeah, KBE stands for Knight of the British Empire, or this is what I would call it, Haley, not the KBE. Oh yeah, that's what I would put it. The KBEWLOI. What do you think that stands for? Well, so it stands KBEWLOI stands for Knight of the British Empire. What's left of it? Right. And apparently you gave this episode 7 out of 10. And oh yes, relevance for today. Relevance for today is China investing in Africa because they've got the money to be able to do it, where they'll be able to like build, because they want all the raw materials from Africa, and it gives you an idea of how much money China has in real terms. The fact that it also helps so that they have the ability to be able to just like make all this stuff because it's right then. So after I went through that, what do you think of the episode?
liked it. I hadn't even noticed that there weren't any women in it until you pointed that out. But well, I guess I would be the last one to notice.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really funny.
What, the fact that I wrote it on the piece of paper?
No women.
Yeah, I wrote that down as a political point. It was nothing to do with my instinct. Well, there's a woman in this review. That's enough for people. If they watch the episode, then you make up for that. Right. So, you gave it 7 out of 10. So, is there any holes that you could pick in it?
Then 6 men being jam-packed in a room that closely and all being okay with it. Got it. I'd have to sit and think about if I can pick out any more holes in it, which I'm sure I could. I don't want to sit here in silence while I'm thinking about it.
Okay. But I remember like seeing your reactions, because I always like to see what people react to, and we've been through the main jokes. We're mainly amused by the same things. But yeah, and it is one of those shows where, but in terms of like the plot and what was happening, did you think it had the ring of truth to it? It's like, this is what government really is like. This kind of stuff goes on.
And then the paperwork bit. And then he finally drops it into the. It's not that dramatic, but I'm sure a lot of that really does go on.
Yeah. Like, how about with the Obamacare bill? Politicians not reading the bill and admitting they've not. I mean, if you did that in many other kind of jobs in the private sector, you'd be done. But especially when it's like all those agreements where you sign that you've read it, and dearie me. So how do we?
I love the cookie crumbles. Okay, what?
I was thinking about what other issues of this episode we could talk about. Oh
man, I probably would not do good in that kind of a situation. Oh,
yeah,
man.
go on.
I mean, if someone, okay, what is the name of the man who took over in Miranda and he came up, the one speech in Scotland? The main guy.
The black guy, Charlie and Tali, was his original name.
Guy. Just if someone tried to pull that bull crap on me, oh man, I'd give a speech and I'd say, F you, you want to try and screw me around. Like, I wouldn't give in.
Oh, so what would happen? Oh, interesting. Let's see what Major did. Well, I'm intrigued. So, in that situation, you would let him. So, would you let him give the speech?
Well, yes, I probably would, but then I'd have like something set up so I could be like live on air and I'd explain what happened. Like, yeah, he came in. I mean, we all know what's going on. There's an independence movement. So this guy came in wanting to stir up shit. And also, like, I would just tell everyone straight up what happened. And I'm not putting up with this BS.
Well, your career would be, you'd be booted out of the party. You'd be out there in no time. Because it's not, they're having by-elections in that part of the world. You'd lose the by-elections, and they even actually mentioned that like it would be like the shortest political career. I think they mentioned that, or maybe they mentioned that in the first episode.
I just don't understand, like, and I realize not everyone thinks like I do, but you would think that people would appreciate the honesty and telling them exactly what happened. This guy came in, he's a fucking snake, and this is what happened, and
Oh.
You're probably right. I figured it out so fast. It just would make me so mad. Someone trying to screw me around like that. I just would not want to let them get what they want.
Mm,
Black men like that. I'm sorry.
interesting. Very strong FI. So for any typology people watching, there's an example of how strong Haley's FI is, ethics or principles. Staying true to who you are, as Dario phrases it.
Well, I mean, yeah, in that situation though, it would probably be more of because I'm pissed off that they're trying to, and I would just be like, I don't think so. I want people to know the truth, but it would be more of a F you than telling people like, hey, this is what's going on. I would have to do that to save my ass, obviously, but yes.
Yeah. So basically, what he's saying is here, Haley, is you're not cut out for politics. No, you're not. Right then. I know what party you're not joining. I know what party for sure that you're not joining. Unless you want to change them from the inside. The Nazem party.
You know me too well.
Right then. So anything else? I think we've pretty much covered everything because we've covered the parallels with today. We've covered what you would do like in that situation. We've done most of the lines.
You know, that, and I don't mean to get personal because this is just like a hangout reviewing that, but it kind of reminds me of how like I get so mad when I see someone, but I go off on the bully. It's more just because I just want to get back at the bully than to help the person being bullied, which I do want to help the person being bullied, but it's like 70 or 80 just to get back at the bully, just because it makes me so effing mad.
Right, so
comparable to something.
So basically, what people watching this is that there is a lot of FI with you in terms of we've had the principles aspect that we've discussed, like, and then you said. So a lot of this is like how it would be if you are in that situation and the identification that you have with these people, and if you were in that position, like putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, all of these kind of...
Yeah, a little bit. But, you know, I really can't say that would be what it is. Because, like, when that happens, which, I mean, it's really not a lot, which I'm happy because I don't want to see, like, people being bullied all the time. But I don't, in the moment, sit and put myself in the person being bullied. I don't put myself in their shoes. Like, I don't spend enough time to, like, in this situation, I just act and I become, like, sarcastic and very vulgar towards the person, like, bullying. But I don't take time to sit and reflect, like, how the person feels right there in the moment.
Right. To use a little bit of Model G would say that NITX, INTJ is a right spinning type, and their extroverted sensing has to do with power sense and of resistance. And so they're all about, like, they don't want to see someone being bullied. And I think Victor said, don't put an ESFP and an ESTP in the same team, because the ESTP is going to try and bully the ESFP, and the ESFP is like the #1 type not to bully, because they're all about don't cramp my freedom, man.
Okay.
Don't try and squash me, because they've got the power sensing, but it's also like they want to do their own thing. They're not about pushing other people around. They're about doing their own thing and having fun. So they will just butt heads, ESFP and ESTPs, because they sort of cancel each other out. Where what will happen is we'll just end this hangout, folks, on a little bit of something I've learned from Jeff about what happens when ESTPs and ESFPs butt heads. That is, ESTPs can, like, get at the logic and, like, pick at the ESFP's reasoning. but the ESFP can like bring the emotional pressure on the ESTP, and especially if there are other people around them, they can make the ESTP look bad. And also, though, is the ESTP can make themselves look bad. Now, also, it depends on maturity level, but like because of like acting like a jerk in front of the other in that situation. So, but again, there's a lot of maturity with ESTPs, and people may have seen that recently with Donald Trump, like when he gave that speech about the gas attack. Listen to his voice and the emotion that comes through. Right then, so because there was a similar thing in the primary debates when he was talking about his reaction to 9/11. So that's only like this. So, and then you heard him on election night. So with ESFPs, it's if you present them with strong emotions, they're going to pick that up, and that is going to affect them if they are developed, because they're sensitive to that kind of emotion. Whereas ENTPs, by opposite, ENTPs actually like to piss people off. It's actually in this book, a little bit. It's in this book. We're going to finish with this, folks. A little bit of typology. It's not actually about ENTPs. It's not ostensibly about ENTPs. It's actually about Enneagram Type 7. But recommendations type. Here it is. This fits. It says here. Now, this is my Enneagram type. So this is about you can be very funny and entertaining. Your sense of humor, wit, and quick mind are a source of pleasure for you and others. And then it has, and this bit fits ENTPs in my opinion. However, watch what you say. Avoid any tendency to say something. Sorry, I'll say that again. Avoid any tendency to say more than you mean for effect or to get a reaction from others. You may well hurt people and damage your relationships just for the sake of getting off a quip or for having the last word. It is not worth ruining friendships and hurting people just to get a laugh. Right. So ENTPs grow up. Right.
Now, how do you think an ENTP would get along with an SP, the most SP of the SPs? You have the SPs causing the crisis and then the ENTP pissing people off.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, ENTPs. So basically, you're asking. Okay, what I would think is an ENTP. If we're talking about the SPs that get along with, well, their conflictor is ISFP, but I would think the SE DOMs, because they've got the same mindset, the same extroverted perceiving mindset. Now, I don't call it temperament, I call it mindset, because as far as I'm concerned, the word temperament is already taken by David Kersey. So I'm translating it to mindset. If there are any other better words out there, I'll change it to it. But temperament is taken by this man, David Kersey Sr. Right. So I think we should end now. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to say about the episode, Haley, apart from it was great.
I don't believe so.
Right, so 7 out of 10. And
7 out of 10.
Hopefully we'll be able to do another review, and maybe it will be in a different location next time. Right, so bye-bye, folks. All will be revealed, or maybe not. All right.